It is our final game before the World Cup. One last chance to finish this part of the season on a high. A tough trip to St James's Park awaits Newcastle, very much the informed team in the Premier League, and they're currently sitting 5 places and 6 points ahead of us in the table. So today is a real chance for us to close that gap. It was a comprehensive 3-0 victory in this fixture last season. Can we do it again? It's a big day for Graham Potter and Chelsea, and particularly for one Chelsea youngster. Welcome to Matchday Live. It's Newcastle against Chelsea, our last game before the World Cup break. Kick-off is in 45 minutes' time at 5:30 p.m. And joining me in the studio is Zach Jalab and Leonie Carpenter. Now, Zach, tonight is a huge, huge game for Chelsea. Yes. And there was a real contrast in how these two teams come into this game. Newcastle very much the informed team, Chelsea not so much.
Yeah, it's weird because if you look at where Newcastle were at this point last year, it was completely different. They were at the bottom, fighting relegation, and look, they've completely bounced back. New manager, spent a bit of money in the summer, but fair play to Eddie Howe, fair play to Newcastle. It's not going to be easy. Two teams who will obviously both be wanting to win. Yeah, it's going to need a strong performance today to get something from this.
You mentioned where Newcastle are. I don't really want to remind you where Chelsea were because we were flying at this point last season, weren't we? Leonie, it feels like it's, you know, there's still so much football to play. But with the way Chelsea have come into this game, does it already feel like a bit of a 6-pointer? It seems remarkable saying that in November.
I mean, we need points, don't we? Let's be honest, looking at the table now, we will take all the points that we can get. I think we just have to take it game by game. We know St James's Park is a difficult place to play, but I really do believe we need to just go into this game with confidence. I want to see confidence, I want to see energy, and I really want to see the team really rooting for those 3 points because, like you say, come January, the games are going to come thick and fast again, and we've got to really win this just before the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, is this, I don't want to say a must-win, but out of a must-win or a must-not-lose, which one do you think it is?
I actually probably would go with a must-not-lose. This Newcastle side are really good, really, really good. And I think the way results have been going recently, yeah, more so a must-not-lose. They're a team that are going to be going all the way this season in foreign competitions as well. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't go into games like that. You go into, especially when you're Chelsea FC, you go into games wanting 3 points, but from a personal point of view, yeah, I'd be OK with the draw for sure.
And Leonie, like I said, we're in November, and when you think how many games we've played, but how much football there is still to play, and Chelsea will have a very different team, hopefully, come the end of the World Cup. Do you think this result will have any bearing on the race for the top 4 and where Chelsea will ultimately finish?
Absolutely. We need points now. And like I say, I think after the form that we've had in the Premier League recently, we need to build our confidence again. I think the World Cup's coming at a good time for us, don't get me wrong, but how nice would it be to just get those 3 points today with a good performance as well, taking our chances, which we really need to see. And, you know, like Zach said, it's a very informed Newcastle side, so what an achievement it would be for us. I'm rooting for a win today, and I really do think it's an important time to get 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's head over to St James's Park then, where our reporter Matt Davies-Adams is for us, because Graham Potter has picked his final starting 11 for that last game before the World Cup. Matt, you've got the teams, haven't you? Who's he picked?
I certainly have, Olivia. Yeah, it's 4 changes from the Man City game. I think the headline is that there are 6 Cobham Academy graduates starting in this game for Chelsea. I'll go through the team in full for you. We've got Edouard Mendy in goal, and we're always guessing formation out with Graham Potter. But I think it's a back 3, Azpilicueta, Koulibaly and Chalobah. Then Ruben Loftus-Cheek, right wing back, Lewis Hall left, Kovacic and Jorginho in the middle. And then that academy front 3, Mount, Breuer and Gallagher. Really excited to see all those 3 leading the Chelsea attack today. Amari Hutchinson, by the way, is on the substitutes bench as well for the Blues tonight. Really exciting team this. The headline news as far as Newcastle are concerned, Callum Wilson doesn't start. He's been ill this week. He's only on the bench. So it's Chris Wood leading the line. I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling pretty positive having seen that team.
I think we are feeling positive, aren't we? Matt, I think you mentioned the 6 academy products, and obviously the one we have to talk about is Lewis Hall starting his first Premier League game. This guy has now played 3 games in 6 days, and he was the best player on the pitch for Chelsea against Manchester City, and you wouldn't bet against him doing it again, would you?
Yeah, I mean, he was terrific, wasn't he, at the Etihad? Very humble when I spoke to him afterwards about it as well. But he's earned this chance. You know, he's played well in PL2 this season. Last season, he played in pretty much every competition going. It was an incredible record that he had. But yeah, full Premier League debut today. We like what we saw from him at the Etihad on Wednesday night. Big test for him. You know, he's going to have Kieran Trippier up against him. He's probably going to be starting for England in the World Cup. So he's going to have a difficult game tonight. There's no doubt about that. But from what we've seen so far, he'll be able to handle it.
Talking of the World Cup there, Matt, as well, because two of our front three are about to go and embark on their first World Cup. Now, we don't expect anything less than to give us their all, which I'm sure Mason Mount and Conor Gallagher always will, like they do. But surely it's going to be just in the back of their minds that in just 9 days, England play their first World Cup game.
Yeah, they wouldn't be human if it wasn't. You know, it's massive for them. It's the first World Cup for both of them, and who knows how many World Cups players get. But, you know, there's a similar thing happening on the Newcastle side. I mentioned Trippier. Maybe that's why Callum Wilson isn't starting. Nick Pope as well is in the England squad. Bruno Guimaraes will be going with Brazil. So as we've seen all around the country today, this is not just a Chelsea thing. This is going to affect every team. But if you were going to pick two footballers in the Premier League who wouldn't give anything less than 100% and would not let this affect them, I think Mason Mount and Conor Gallagher would be pretty high up on that list.
Absolutely. I think they would probably be the top two on that list, wouldn't they? And they're playing up top, Matt, alongside Armando Broja, who didn't get a lot of service against City, but we saw little glimpses. And that front three could work quite well together, couldn't they?
Yeah, there's loads of pace in it, that's for sure. And I think the fact that Jorginho is back might help in terms of the service that Armando will get. But we know he's brilliant holding the ball up as well, and he gives that little bit of extra physical presence up there that maybe Aubameyang doesn't have quite so much of. And so perhaps that's what's factored into Graham Potter's thinking here. But yeah, a chance for Broja to start in the Premier League again. He did it at Brentford as well, didn't he? But really looking forward to seeing him tonight.
And there's no Thiago Silva, Matt, in the back three today. It's a big day for Trevor Chalobah, Azpilicueta and Koulibaly, because you're coming up against the October Premier League Player of the Month in Miguel Almiron, who is in the form of his life, and he is making every defender he plays against. You know, he's just been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's making Jack Grealish eat his words, that's for sure. Player of the Month is Miguel Almiron in the Premier League. Eddie Howe, Manager of the Month too. So yeah, big test for that Chelsea back three. And you know, Trevor Chalobah, we've seen Ivan Toney earlier today kind of make his point to Gareth Southgate. I think Chalobah's really unlucky not to be in the England World Cup squad, so extra motivation for him as well. Obviously, Azpi and Koulibaly will be going with their respective countries, but Trev's been a rock, hasn't he? So I think he can handle Almiron today. I'm hopeful.
Absolutely. Matt, thank you so much. Enjoy the game, hoping for a big 3 points. That was our reporter, Matt Davies-Adams, at St James's Park for us ahead of the game. Now, Zach, we're obviously looking back at the Manchester City game, and actually, it was a slightly better performance. It felt like there was a lot of positives to take from the game, albeit ended up being a 2-0 defeat, as this tweet rightly says here.
Yeah, for sure. The first 45 was really, really good. It's just unfortunate. The goals kind of come from just a few individual mistakes, which you've said a few times. Excuse me, a few times with Chelsea. Yeah, Lewis Hall was fantastic. I think he's someone that's going to be interesting today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, on Matchday Live, Elizabeth Helenek joins us on the show, repping a Chelsea blue jumper. You love to see it, Elizabeth. We're talking about the Manchester City game, and you know, I feel like we do speak about this a lot on Matchday Live. Chelsea missing chances is just something that we've seen a lot over the last few years, and it was evident again in that Man City game. A lot of chances, and we probably should have scored at least one goal, shouldn't we?
Yeah, and if you score one of those goals, it completely changes the match. Christian Pulisic had a really good opportunity on goal in the first half. He had another good shot, and Lewis Hall, who we were just talking about, had two really great opportunities. So if any of those go in, it's a completely different game. And I think that it's just a matter of Chelsea being a little bit more clinical, maybe having more power and precision on the ball. Just looking there, that was Christian Pulisic's shot. Great save by the goalie, and then here's Lewis Hall's shot. He did the hard part, actually, which was coming onto his right foot, but then he just didn't get enough power on it. So a bit unlucky in this match, but I think the positive is that at least we're creating opportunities. At least we're seeing these chances, and then hopefully we'll start to see them being converted.
absolutely. I mean, two of our biggest chances falling to Lewis Hall.
New one.
And as Elizabeth said, he did absolutely everything right. They just fell on his weaker foot. Do you think if they'd have fallen on his stronger left foot, they might have been goals?
Yeah. I also think maybe just a bit of experience,
Yeah.
like in that position.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's obviously done very, very well and very, very talented, but sometimes when you're playing against Manchester City, you're 18 years old, you're facing against the likes of Pep Guardiola, the pressure can get there. Maybe in another, he'll be thinking afterwards. I'm sure he kind of went home thinking, gosh, why did I not try and go round the keeper's right or use my left foot? But yeah, I mean, it's all experience and it will only improve. Who knows? Maybe he gets that same chance today and he knows now what to do exactly in that kind of situation.
Yeah, and Leone, as every Chelsea fan was on social media talking about how brilliant Lewis Hall was to come in and to play like that and to get a compliment from the man himself.
The ultimate.
The ultimate, you know, as a defender as well, playing in a defensive position. It couldn't have really gone much better for Lewis Hall, could it?
No, exactly. And he's so confident as well for such a young age. And
2004.
Don't.
2004.
I can't.
I mean,
I
Nazar
can't.
is completely right. That makes me feel more than old. I'm 10 years older than him.
Wow.
10 years older than him.
Yeah, it's crazy. But fair play to him, you know. I watched him at Kings Meadow back in August and he was then playing at the Etihad and what a performance he put in, and fair play, and I look forward to seeing him today as well.
He absolutely deserves his place in the starting 11 today. And we can hear from Lewis Hall, who was speaking after that Manchester City defeat.
You all right, mate? Take a little step towards me. Perfect.
Well, Lewis, well done. Really good performance. How did you find it?
Yeah, obviously disappointing result, obviously losing the game, being knocked out of the competition so early, but I think personally it's what you dream of as a kid, playing in the biggest games, and I think playing against a top team like City and at the Etihad is something that you dream of, so really happy, yeah.
It's obviously the FA Cup was brilliant last season, but that was Chesterfield. This is the champions of England. The step up is marked, isn't it? Did you feel that kind of intensity to the game?
Yeah, definitely. The way they move the ball around is one of the best teams in the world to do it, so it's very tough, physically demanding against a team like City, but I think we still had chances where we could have potentially got ourselves back into the game or put ourselves ahead. So yeah, I think we can take positives from the game.
The boss has just been in here lauding your performance. What did he say to you before the match and then again when you came off? Because we saw everybody giving you high fives and handshakes.
Yeah, no, before the game he was just like, you've deserved this, and he obviously said that what I've done in training, just keep doing it and play the way I play, don't play any differently, and just be myself and try to express myself as best as possible. Yeah.
So, those of us who've watched you in the youth team over the last couple of years have seen you play. I think I've seen you play pretty much everywhere except in goal. Is that wide left role the one that you favour yourself? Is that where you see yourself eventually ending up?
I think, if I'm honest, I prefer playing in the middle of the pitch. I feel like that's where I can be most effective, whether that's as a pivot or as an 8. I feel like that's where I can be most effective, but I've played left side quite a lot, whether it's wing back or centre half. I think it's something that I like to have, that versatility. So when the manager can pick a team, there's different positions that you can be selected for.
Have you set yourself a goal now for the rest of the season? Are you thinking you want to get more first team minutes? Is it about carrying on the good form that we've seen in PL2 this year, or are you just kind of taking it one step at a time?
I think taking it one step at a time, because obviously at the start of the season I was playing regularly in the PL2 and I was really happy with how I was doing, and as a team I feel like we're really building and we're getting somewhere with it, but with opportunities like this where it's something that you're not quite expected, but it's happened all so quickly, I think you just got to take it one week at a time and from one game to the next.
Finally, John Terry was saying how impressed he was with your performance tonight on Twitter. He's obviously the benchmark for the Chelsea Academy. But when you look at the team now, can you see that pathway because of the likes of Reece and Mason and Trev and everybody else who's playing? You feel there's a route through from the academy to the first team?
Yeah, definitely, especially when you look at those players like you mentioned, Reece, Mason, Trev, everyone. I think it's a big inspiration to all young players who are potentially training with the first team and getting experiences like I did tonight. I think everyone realises that it's possible, And I think with John Terry, he's in and around the academy coaching, and he's really good with all the younger players. Like.
So that was Lewis Hall speaking after that defeat. He spoke really well, and Matt was there asking him the questions. And it's right, there is now a clear, view to the first team, and it does look like he could be the next to potentially do it. I don't know if we're maybe speaking a bit too soon, and we'll see what he plays like today. But that performance was just brilliant. And playing out of position as well, Zach, we have to remember.
Yeah. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, players nowadays, I feel, aren't necessarily brought up in one position. And playing central midfield, playing centre-half, playing left wing-back gives you so much experience to put into whatever position you're needed to play. And especially when you're trying to get into the first team, a first team like Chelsea's, you do need to... That might be the way you get in, is by playing as a left wing-back. And he did so well. He was fantastic. And to be honest, if there's one thing you say to him, it's like, OK, mate, get ready, move your bags over to the first team. I think you're ready. I think you're here.
He was absolutely brilliant. And, Leonie, there seems to be a nice partnership down that left-hand side between Marc Cucurella and Lewis Hall. Obviously, Marc Cucurella doesn't start today, but they had a good connection, didn't they? Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we want to see as well. We want to see those partnerships, those connections, especially when we're rotating the team a lot as well. I thought he played brilliantly, and I think they kind of went hand in hand, didn't they? And Cucurella, he was great at breaking the attack up as well, and then obviously Lewis Hall taking the ball as he does confidently, dribbling around players. It was brilliant to see. That's exactly right, Elizabeth, because when he got on the ball, he was progressive, he was fearless, he was driving forward, he was taking players on, he was winning fouls. It was just everything you want from your left wing back in that position, wasn't it?
Sorry, I was muted. It was a super impressive performance. I can only echo what you all have said. And I think just to go on, be 18 years old, playing at the Etihad against Man City, and to put a performance like that where he was basically flawless, and to be the standout player, in my opinion, out of all of the players that were on the pitch, I think that just speaks so much to his talent, and that he only has room to grow because he was playing out of position. So just imagine the talent that this kid has. I'm really excited to see what he gets up to tonight, if he can repeat that performance.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a big day for Lewis Hall, and we are very, very excited to see what he can offer. Of course, we kick off at 5:30, but there have been plenty of Premier League games that have already gone ahead so far on this Saturday. Of course, it started a shock defeat. An Ivan Toney double meant Brentford took all 3 points from Manchester City. Big wins for Bournemouth and Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, and Spurs came from behind 3 times to win 4-3, a big result for Leicester there as well. But, Zach, when we look at those fixtures, and you look at Liverpool, and you look at Tottenham, you look at the teams around Chelsea right now, that makes today perhaps even bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Chelsea do have, I think, a game in hand, possibly 2 games in hand on some teams.
Yeah, we do.
But still, you need to get 3 points. I said earlier about how I wanted Chelsea to maybe look at it and more just look, a draw's OK, but that's not the mindset they're going to be going into this, and especially after those results, seeing what Spurs have done and coming from behind against actually a pretty strong Leeds team is mightily impressive. And so, yeah, today, I think if they didn't need any more motivation, seeing those results will definitely add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, guys, are we feeling confident about the game? Are we feeling confident about the trivia?
As always, no.
That is the attitude, Zach. We love it. That is the attitude. Right, shall we find out then what the trivia is on today's show? The question is, which keeper saved a penalty in our FA Cup third round shootout win over Newcastle in 1996? Who is that goalkeeper in the picture, do we think?
Cool. OK.
Yeah.
We will figure it out
We
will figure it out in time.
All good.
The faces in this studio did not fill me with a whole lot of confidence, mine included as well, by the way, guys. But we've got until half-time, haven't we, to figure this out, so we will come up with an answer.
Try.
Zach, this is obviously a huge game today. And Newcastle, like we've spoken about, are in the form of their lives. And they will be going into this game with so much confidence and probably thinking that they can get 3 points today, can't they?
No, for sure. I think Newcastle are now kind of facing every team apart from maybe Man City, thinking we can get 3 points here. But then you look at the score today, maybe they're thinking that as well. Look, I think It might partially play in Chelsea's favour if Newcastle are being overly...
We love being the underdogs.
Indeed. But partially, you know, thinking that, look, Chelsea are playing poorly at the moment or have had poor or negative results go against them and maybe ease off a little bit. But, look, this is the Premier League, this professional standard. I think they all know, as if there's one team that's going to be half decent, it'll probably be Chelsea. They'll be trying their best. However... I think, look, these guys, the way the Premier League is, they spend months and months analysing, looking at how teams play. They'll both be trying to suss each other out. And those changes in the squad, maybe they wouldn't have thought Lewis will be playing today. And that's kind of the difference. That can be the difference.
Absolutely. Right, the teams are out on the pitch ahead of the warm-up at St James's Park. So let's head over to your commentary team for the match today. It's Andy Bishop and Jason Cundy.
Wherever we go, Trivago is with us, and now they bring us to St James's Park to follow the warm-up of the Blues for the match against Newcastle. Well, it is a tough-looking assignment for Graham Potter's side here this evening. Newcastle have won their last 4 Premier League games, unbeaten in their last 9. It is the longest current unbeaten run in the Premier League. It's going to be a tough occasion, isn't it, Jason, for this Chelsea side? Good evening. Yes, this is going to be a very, very tough game. There's no doubt about that. In terms of what we're approaching a side full of confidence. Eddie has done a remarkable job. This is a crowd that love the fact that they're playing attractive, attacking, open, a style of football with goals, with end product. And if there's no end product, then supporters get really frustrated. But yeah, look. We come into this game knowing we're at the back of a couple of bad results. Performances have not been the best they could be. But this is also a game that we can go and win. I don't doubt the team I've seen. Whenever I go into a game, I think to myself, Andy, that why can't we go and win this game? Why can't we go on and perform? So I have to say that Lewis Hall, delighted to see that he's in the side. I thought he was outstanding against Manchester City. But it's all about what happens in the opening 15, 20 minutes, because this is a Newcastle side that with the crowd behind 52,000 fans behind their team, there's a different feel about this city. There's a different feel about what they're expecting now. And if they do beat us today, they can go 8 points ahead of us in the league with a superior goal difference. You could argue right now 9. But no doubt how tough this is going to be. Well, they're a boisterous crowd at the best of times, but a Saturday evening game as well at St James's Park, with the opportunity for Newcastle to head into the World Cup in such a strong position in the Premier League. It's a key point that we have to make. 3 points for 3 points, and the first one, they have to survive the early Newcastle onslaught, surely. Yeah, and the points I just made there is the fact that the crowd are up. This is a crowd that have been starved of any kind of major success for the last 50-odd years plus. They've not picked up a major trophy. I think it may well be the Mobile Trophy. There was a trophy they won back in the late 60s. This is a club that despite the fact they've got 52,000 fans, that doesn't make you a big club. It's about trophies, about delivering. That has to help. And they've had the injection of the money, of course. We've seen what's happened in the takeover. Ashby's moved on, clearly holding the club back. Eddie Howe's done a remarkable job, done brilliantly. They've not spent a huge amount of money. I know 200 million has been spent in the last 12 months. Actually, in Premier League terms, that's not a lot to go from where he took over at bottom. So they're now bottom of the table when he took over. 12 months later, they're now talking about a side that could actually. So go from relegation battlers, a side now, they've got their eyes on Champions League football. Remarkable stuff. Celebrated a year in charge this week, Eddie Howe. It has been an incredible job, as he's done, as Jason said, bottom of the table when they took over, now pushing for a Champions League place. Who knows, perhaps even better than that. And one of the things that Eddie Howe has done is he has transformed Miguel Almiron. He is in sensational form right now. 7 goals in his last 7 Premier League games, 8 in his last 12. Then he scored 9. His first 112. Yeah. How has he done that? No, okay. So there's a couple of things. Clearly, the management and the takeover has helped everyone. Right? He's not alone in this situation. I've always liked Almiron. I've always felt there's a player in there. I always felt that there was a little bit of lack of, maybe coaching. Gets into good areas, dangerous areas, fails to deliver. Right cross, right pass, right shot, right selection of all of those. but he's now found there's a found confidence about him, about an assurance about what he's doing now. That final decision, the pass, the cross, the shot, whatever it might be. And that has to come from, of course, the management and the coaching and everything else. Alan Shearer made a brilliant point on Match of the Day last weekend about Kieran Trippier, who's in behind him. That experience that he's got coaching him throughout the game, feeding him, telling him wherever, and that relationship between the pair has developed. Trippier's been he paid 20 or 25 million, I think they paid for him. Vastly experienced, come in, and that's the sort of signings that Newcastle decided to go for at the time. Brilliant signing. And I think that what we're seeing now, we're seeing the resurgence of a side that's underperformed for the last X amount of years. We're now seeing good players that have already been there and now performing to the level that the reason the club bought. But what's been accelerated by that is the players that have come in and the coaching. So there's been a number of things in my mind as to why we're seeing that. Don't doubt this boy. He's got bags and bags of pace, bags of enthusiasm, bags of energy. Now on top of that, he's adding quality to it. And he's a very, very dangerous person to be up against.
Well, Chelsea this season are averaging just over 11 shots per game in the Premier League. It is their lowest since the Opta records began all the way back in 1997. So the chances perhaps might be few and far between today. Newcastle have the best defensive record in the Premier League. So it's going to be pivotal for Chelsea that when they do get their chances today, they have to take them.
Yeah, so a manager's job when he comes in, at any club, at any level, is about getting the balance right between being defensively solid and tight and reassured, and also creating chances the other end. Right? If you get that balance right, then you're doing a top job. You sometimes find managers defensively want to be more solid, and then when those chances come inevitably in every game they do, depends how many they come across. And Potter at the moment has come in on the back of what Tuchel left him. He's still trying to find that balance. And you can see that in the games that we've played recently, in the performances. It's about getting the balance right, finding the right balance. Clearly the injuries that have taken place, again, second year on the spin, Reece James and Ben Chilwell. For the shape, if you're going to play a three, these are bad injuries. But no one's going to feel sorry for Chelsea, and I don't expect it, and nor do I want it. But we've got to find a way. We've got a deep squad, we've got deep pockets. We've got to find a way. But you're absolutely right. Chances actually appeared against Man City. We created chances. We could have won that game. Unfortunately for him, who was the best player on the pitch on the night, they fell to Lewis Hall. Not they fell to Lewis Hall, they fell on his right foot. And if they fall on his left, the chances are he probably finishes one of those. So there's it right there. But the point you make about when those chances come, and they're few and far between the Premier League against good sides, defensively, one of the best sides right now, we've got to take them when they come.
It said a lot about Wednesday night up at the Etihad that Man City gave their Man of the Match award to their goalkeeper, so it proved that Chelsea had the chances, but as we said, it's all about taking those opportunities when they come. So why is it such a formidable task for Chelsea here today? Well, because Newcastle are in brilliant form right now. If we take a look at their results, their last 5 games, Jason, 4 wins and a draw at Old Trafford. It's so impressive from Eddie Howe's team.
Yes, it is, and this has been a growing process. You know, it's the last 12 months. He's a really good manager, and the transfer business they've done. So they brought in Chris Wood in the last January transfer window. That wasn't one that the Premier League look at and go, wow. But then you back up to Wilson, who's on the bench today. They brought the boy Isaac in, brilliant. He's an absolute superstar, this kid. Trust me, I Go and earn your stripes, young man. Chance, opportunity knocks, go and take it.
And you talk about Lewis Hall as well and this Premier League start for him, but we also talked about that right-hand side for Newcastle. Kieran Trippier, one of the most informed players in the Premier League, does things at both ends of the pitch. Third most chances created in the Premier League this season. But not only that, ahead of him, Miguel Almiron, it's a baptism of fire, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But, you know, he went away to one of the best sides in the world, if not the... Look, they lost today, of course, but he was fearless. And what I loved about his performance, I'd be interested to see if there's the same attitude and the same approach to the game. He wanted to attack. He wanted to go and take them. So the system that we're still waiting to see exactly what system we're playing. We think it's going to be a 3 at the back. We think he's going to be one of those that's going to be able to try and get forward. If that's the case, go and play the same way. Be fearless. Young kids, when they come into a first team, they don't know what failure feels like. There is no fear, and he played with that and that exuberance that you can only get from youth, that naivety, which is a brilliant thing in football when you don't know what it's like to lose or you don't know what that fear is like. Go and do it again, son. Go. But the experienced players around him today have got a massive job. There has to be on that other pitch, on today's pitch, there's got to be 10 captains around him because he might make a mistake. There might be a back pass to Mendy. There might be Mendy stitching him up. There might be one of those situations. Everyone has got to get around him. He's the young kid in this team. Support him vocally and physically. Make sure you get around him to help, because this is a different test in a different type of way. City's team was under strength, even though it was a brilliant, magnificent side they put out. Today is a real acid test. Premier League, 3 points, biggest league in the world. Go out, son, and go and do yourself proud.
Well, now let's get the thoughts of Graham Potter, the Chelsea head coach, on what he expects from this test at Newcastle this evening.
Well, there's been a lot of excitement because of the World Cup announcements. So players are waiting for the confirmation, and some are very excited and some are a little bit disappointed, as you can imagine. So it's about congratulating the ones that are successful and looking after the ones that haven't been for different reasons. So it's been an interesting week. You have to certainly understand the disappointment and also understand that there's not too much you can say to make them feel any better at the moment because of the disappointment. But you just need to know that you're there for them, and we as a club can support everybody as fully as we can to try to make sure that you know, if they're coming back from injury, they're fitter and they're stronger, and if they've got a game to focus on, they can just focus on the match. But I think Eddie's done an amazing job. I think he's coming in and he's improved the players, the individuals there that were already there, improved the team, made some really good signings, invested the money that he's had really well, and now they've galvanised everybody in the city. There's a real togetherness, and you know, they play with huge intensity and huge quality. So it's fantastic work from Eddie. I think Newcastle are in a really exciting phase, and you can compare them with the top teams. They've got a coach that they really believe in. There's a togetherness in terms of in the stands and the club, and the players have bought in really strongly to Eddie and to his ideas. So yeah, Newcastle are going to compete. I'm pretty sure at the top end with only one game a week. There's no Europe for them as well. They're going to be playing with intensity for the remainder of the season.
That was Graham Potter there talking about it. He's right in terms of Newcastle not having Europe as well this season. So they'll be playing once a week, and when everyone else is playing twice and 3 times in a very short space of time. So that goes in their advantage, doesn't it, Leonie?
Absolutely. And I just think if you want to be the best, you've got to play these games anyways. And I would absolutely take Champions League football over not Champions League football. Yeah. But you're right, it is an advantage for them. But if we start to progress in the Champions League, arguably we're going to build some momentum, and you know, it can go both ways.
Absolutely. It's been an interesting first half to the season, guys. So I'm going to now get you to try and sum up the season using one hashtag. So we're going to, starting with you, Elizabeth. Just firstly, could you pick one positive and one negative about Chelsea's start to the season? What would you say?
Do they have to be one word each, the positive and the negative?
No, so you can pick, just talk about, give us a positive point, give us a negative point, and then I'll make you sum it up in one word.
Oh, okay, cool. So I think positive has been that we're starting to see more attacking patterns and more attacking play and more chances being created. And maybe one of the negatives that kind of goes hand in hand is that we are not taking those opportunities and we're still not being clinical enough. So if I had to sum it up, I would say maybe a bit of a roller coaster.
Roller coaster,
like we had some good opportunities and some not, yeah.
Gonna be hard to match
that. That is a great word, Elizabeth. That's a very good answer. I really like that. Okay, Zach, give us a positive and a negative.
Positive, I really like to see us still using the academy boys. I really think Hall's only the beginning of it. Hutchinson on the bench is only going to be the start. Negative, injuries. Over the past few seasons, injuries are the ones that kind of really do derail our seasons. And obviously the Reece James one, Chilwell, I'm not going to, a lot more. But maybe that also gives opportunities for the youngsters to play. So for the one word, lively. I don't know.
Not quite roller coaster, but still good.
I think roller coaster's the best so far.
My iPad nearly went flying there. Leonie, what about you?
So you've really put me on the spot here because
this
I'm
is
going
my job.
last.
This is my job to put you guys
Thank
on the
you.
spot.
Of course, amalgamating the two positives, of course, academy players as well, and the more attacking patterns. I guess another positive, Graham Potter coming in, a new ownership. It's a real reset for Chelsea this season, and I'm optimistic. I'm excited to see what happens. Of course, we've got the break in the World Cup. January, who knows, we might sign some players. Negative, of course, injuries as well. It's it's not nice, and any club can suffer with injuries. But for me, Reece James was a massive one. He was at his best. I mean, I think he still had more to come, to be honest. But a massive blow. And I think just a bit inconsistent sometimes. You're on this high, we keep winning games, and then it's we're not winning now. And but it's Chelsea, isn't it? This is why we love Chelsea.
So one word.
It's tough.
Thank you.
Tough could be quite a good one.
True.
Tough, yeah. I would say maybe journey, ellipsis. So
okay.
dot.
Okay, nice. Okay, we'll take it. Right, let's remind ourselves then of the trivia question before the first half kicks off at St James's Park. And the question is, which keeper saved a penalty in our FA Cup third-round shootout win over Newcastle back in 1996? He is the keeper in that picture. So, guys, we have until half-time.
Oh, it's him.
We have until half... Leonie, it was confident. Say anything with confidence and anyone will believe you. We will come up with an answer at half-time and we will let you know. Hopefully we get this right. Just, guys, kick-off is literally coming fast now. Zach, how do you see this game going?
Tight. I think both teams, like Newcastle, now want possession, their kind of football, but they can play on the counter-attack. We've got to be aware of that. Almiron's in the form of his life. So, it wouldn't shock me if half-time it's 0-0. I think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It could be a 1-0 win or a 2-1.
Yeah, Liz, Leonie, sorry, what do you think?
Well, I'm always optimistic with Chelsea. I am going
Love
with
your confidence.
Thank you. So I think we will win. We will be confident. We will go for it today. Newcastle will score. I'll give them that. So I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea.
Nice. And what about you, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult task, and I'm curious to see how the impending World Cup affects this game. Maybe players aren't going to go into the same sorts of tackles or something because they don't want to get injured. So I'm curious to see how that's going to affect it. So I see this going a 1-0 either way. So I'm going to go 1-0 to Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea. And you said, what did you give us a score prediction?
No, I didn't, and I'm not going to.
Yes, you are.
I didn't. 1-0 Chelsea.
1-0 Chelsea. He's copied you, Elizabeth. Right, the players are heading out of the tunnel at St James's Park, so it's time to head over to your commentary team for the first half, Andy Bishop and Jason Cundy.
A warm welcome to Tyneside and a huge game for Chelsea as they come to take on an informed Newcastle United in their final game before the World Cup. Just one defeat all season for Eddie Howe's side, who are on a roll right now, 4th in the Premier League, walking out having won their last 4 games.